Recording is on.
All right, hey everybody, here with the Bitcoin design community and some folks from Galloy to do a discussion about the Bitcoin Beach wallet. So this is part of our wallet improvement project where we basically go and try to onboard ourselves to new Lightning wallets and document our experiences, and then try and take our notes and turn that into actionable feedback that we can pass over to the developers. I believe this is our fifth or sixth call regarding this. I don't quite remember off the top of my head. But I know I have been using a test flight link for the wallet, so I'm going to be providing some feedback, and then I believe Johns has some ideas that he wanted to share regarding contacts and all of that. And if anybody else has any notes they want to share, then just chime in and let me know. Since we got several people from the Galloy team on here, I was just curious, does anybody want to just give like a kind of, brief overview of like what the goals of this specific wallet are before we get started?
You mean the goal of the Bitcoin Beach wallet?
Yes.
Yeah, I can go ahead. So the first thing to understand is there is maybe two different entities. There is the Bitcoin Beach wallet and there is Galloy. And so if I start with Bitcoin Beach wallet, so this is a wallet that is being used in El Salvador, and that has started more specifically in El Zonte, where basically Bitcoin started in El Salvador. The idea of the Bitcoin Beach wallet is to have a wallet for the community in El Zonte. And there is some specific to this wallet. I guess one of the big items is that it's what I call shared custody wallet, because there is the funds are being kept for the multi-sig by people in El Zonte, and so they have most of the money in multi-sig. Because it's also like a wallet that is used for transaction purpose, like there is also a hot wallet, which is split between on-chain and off-chain funds, so on-chain plus Lightning. That is being used to transact whether you want to send a payment or receive a payment. Those funds are on a server, so it's a single sig that are on a GCP. Because it's a community wallet, there is a notion of contact that is fairly, I guess, useful. The idea is that if you interact with some people in the community, you can easily send them money without having them generating you an invoice. You can just know who they are, and they will appear in the contact list. You can send them payment fairly easily, which is the feedback that we got is one of the most useful features of the wallet is this community part, contact part of the wallet. Now, I guess some of the challenges, the success of the wallet, has gone beyond El Zonte, and now there is about 60,000 people that are that have registered to the wallet and that are using it in El Salvador, which is like a lot more than the 2,000, 3,000 people in El Zonte, right? So like now the wallet is being used across El Salvador generally. And of course, there is a lot of question regarding that. Okay, how do you go from a community wallet to like a wallet that's being in the country? And is it the wallet go really organically? And is it great? Is it good for the wallet? Is it something that we want or not? I don't know. It's a question mark because is it still a community wallet, right? When there is a lot more people that are using it. What can I say? So we try to help on the merchant side, right, to make sure merchant can easily receive payment. And so we have created something last year that was like a put-in QR code that if you scan with a Bitcoin Beach wallet, then you can easily pay a username. We know that this has quite some friction with people that doesn't have the Bitcoin Beach wallet because then they need to open with a camera to get the invoice. And it is a point of friction that has been, I guess, most frequently gave back to us over the last couple of weeks. And so we are rolling out LNURL in the next version, hopefully, that will allow smoother integration with any other wallet for merchants specifically. Yeah, on top of the wallet, that is a mobile wallet, we have also this website, which is called ln.bitcoinbitch.com/username, where like, it's very easy to sign. If you know the username of a person, you can go to this webpage and you will get a Lightning invoice and you can send a payment. So it's like a tipping services, if you want. That has been proven to be very useful for a lot of people in the in Horizonte, because a lot of Bitcoiner might come down to Horizonte and then they just tweet about it, and then those people may receive sometime hundreds, if not thousands of dollars from Bitcoiner all around the world. What can I say? I mean, maybe I should have started with the basic, like the Bitcoin Beach wallet. You know, the basic is a transactional wallet. So the goal is to be able to send and receive money both on chain and Lightning, and to make it very easy to onboard, right? So what we use to identify the user is a phone number, and they just have to put their phone number, they receive a code, and they're onboarded. Most people keep a very low amount in their wallet, you know, in the dollar or $10. So like you can really see that most people use this wallet as their, you know, the money they may have other one in their pocket, right? It's not that they keep their life saving in this wallet. And yeah, so this is for the Bitcoin Beach wallet. Maybe I can also mention Gallery. You know, what is the difference between Gallery and the Bitcoin Beach wallet? So on the side of Gallery, the goal is to create like, if you want like a code base so that it's easy to create your own wallet, like a wallet as a service or banking as a service for Bitcoin. And so you can see Gallery as a, in developer language, maybe Gallery is a class and Bitcoin Beach wallet is the first instance. But the idea in the future is that there will be other communities that would probably be using this code base and create their own wallet. We think it's one of the ways we can help having more adoption of Bitcoin in developing countries around the world. Yeah, I think that's a 5 minutes introduction.
Great, thank you so much. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in and show off a Figma screen right here. I've started laying some stuff out in here. Let's see. Okay, can everybody see my Figma screen okay? Yep. Okay. So I just started, you know, once I downloaded the application off a test flight, I just started taking screenshots and then laying it out. I laid it all out in Figma here after the fact as I went. So obviously, you know, someone who lives in El Salvador would be able to just get this off of the App Store, I believe. For me, with a US phone, I need to go through test flight. And, you know, once I downloaded it, I got to this little onboarding flow right here. So you tap get started, Bitcoin, why should I care? And then it kind of gives you some kind of, you know, brief value proposition of what Bitcoin's supposed to do for you. And then you tap this learn to earn thing. And I'm having a little bit of trouble remembering because I kind of onboarded myself to this wallet. I think like a week or two ago. I mean, I was like in the middle of my trip in El Salvador. So I want to say that the learn to earn button was supposed to take me to the earn screen, but somehow I have a screenshot in my records of going to the home screen. So I'm not entirely sure if the button was supposed to take me directly to the earn tab, which we'll see in a moment, or if it just flashed briefly into the home screen. But that was kind of my experience. But overall, I like this onboarding process a lot. My one kind of suggestion on here, I dropped a comment on the board. Well, it might have disappeared, but I think like a white text or some higher contrast for that text would be better. Just make it more accessible for people who have trouble seeing lower contrast things. But I like that onboarding screen a lot. And if anybody has any, if anybody has any questions or comments along the way, feel free to interrupt me. I'm fine with that. So the next kind of thing was I went through and got to the Earn tab right here, which I believe Andrew was telling me about. And basically, you go through here, and it gives you this kind of like this map of, you know, all the different things you can learn about. So I tap on the first thing, Bitcoin, what is it? And it gives me this question, what exactly is Bitcoin, earn one sat? And because I'm curious and I like to know what all my options are, I ended up sliding through and, you know, seeing what was available. And, you know, this is grayed out because you can't get to, you know, this question without answering the first one. And I think somewhere in the middle of like looking at this, I was kind of interrupted with the prompt for my phone number. And I was a little confused because I wasn't sure if like this was a delayed thing, like if this was, I wasn't sure if it was intentional for prompting the user for their phone number, for that to be like delayed after they've already kind of started using the app, or if that's supposed to be something that's required at the front. So it kind of interrupted my earn process. You know, defaults to El Salvador, of course, for the phone code. I went through and swapped it out with the US code and typed in my phone number. I very much appreciate the simplified reCAPTCHA and the not making people determine if things are traffic lights or taxi cabs and all of that. And I don't know, I actually find those kind of difficult and time consuming to do. So I appreciate the simplified reCAPTCHA a lot. Got a 6-digit 2FA code, typed that in. And then once I think, once I kind of confirmed my phone number with Bitcoin Beach, it then returned me back to the home screen. So it kind of interrupted my earn flow a little bit, and I think I had to go back and restart that, but that wasn't too huge of a deal.
I have a question there, if I may. It says we will text you an access code. At that point, do you know what access you did not have and what you'll be getting access to?
I don't think I knew at this point in the process. I mean, I think I personally knew a little bit, just in that I kind of had some you know, conversations with Andrew beforehand about how it was, you know, limited to people in El Salvador. So I think I kind of in my mind I knew that it had something to do with you know, checking to make sure that this person is like a member of the community, but I don't think I actually knew what exactly I was supposed to be getting access to when I was doing the process.
Yeah, I was just curious if the rest of the interface is actually fully functional, or at which point you would hit those limits.
Yeah, that is a good question. I wasn't sure. I guess I was so excited to dive into the earning portion of it and wanting to start playing with that I didn't actually try like sending and receiving before I dived into it. So I don't know if I was, well, at the offset, I would obviously have no SAT, so I can't send anything. So I'm limited in that regard. In terms of receiving, I didn't actually try to, you know, receive anything or do a Lightning invoice beforehand. So I don't know if it limited me in that regard. I imagine it might have.
And so I assume you cannot send, or, well, you can't send anyways because the wallet's empty. You cannot receive until you go through this access.
That's my thinking. Is that correct? Is that correct? Can someone from Galoy chime in, just since we have you all on the call? Are they like limited from receiving before they've verified their phone number?
Looks like Nicholas confirmed yes in the chat.
Okay, cool. So yeah, to answer your question, Grojava looks like this basically enables you to actually receive Bitcoin. And I'm guessing that maybe that's why it triggered in for the earn tab, because the idea is like, if I'm about to like earn 1 sat and like, you know, answer this question to receive the money, then I need to, I guess, verify my phone number before I'm allowed to collect the reward for my quest for taking the quiz. So that's probably the logic in having the phone number prompt pop up here. So maybe something that's just like, hey, before you can, receive Bitcoin, we need to receive your identity. Another thing to keep in mind is, I was kind of onboarding myself as just like a brand new user. I think, at least from what I've read in some of the articles, that a lot of times when people use this wallet for the first time, there's somebody showing you how to use it, and all of that. So I was kind of going into this naked. So after I verified my phone number, I returned to the Earn tab, and this is a really cool feature. And I kind of wish that more Bitcoin wallets would have a feature like this. Obviously, if you're going to have this kind of feature, where you pay the users to learn about Bitcoin, you kind of have to be, your wallet can be open source, but you have to be kind of providing like a service as a company to the user in order to, make it worth your while to, just give away Bitcoin to people. But, you tap on it, it asks you, it tells you some information. You read through it, very simple, explains to you what Bitcoin is. You say earn 1 sat. What exactly is Bitcoin? And then you answer correctly. And it says, hey, you just earned 1 sat. And then takes you back to the screen. It says, hey, 1 sat earned. And then you can swipe over to the next question. And then, each question is worth incrementally more amounts of money. You go through and read through it, and you can, this is what happens if you answer the question wrong. And that's what happens if you answer the question right again. And one thing I did notice, and this is just, I guess, more of an engineering thing, but I did notice kind of like a noticeable delay whenever I was answering a lot of these questions. I think the first one was very instant, but many of the quiz questions I answered after that, there would be like a delay. Like it would return me back to this screen where it says earn 2 sats. And then I would be waiting for maybe 5 seconds. In most extreme cases, 5 seconds, sometimes more like 3 seconds, but there's definitely like a noticeable lag between actually earning it and then this thing saying, hey, you earned 2 sats.
Yeah, I noticed that delay too, and I also would prefer if it just slides me automatically to the next question.
I see what you're saying. Did you review? Who's speaking? Sorry.
Lucas.
Sorry. Hey, Lucas. Did you manage to go through the whole wallet process as well?
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you feel like sharing, if you have anything you want to share, just let me know. I don't know if you.
I'll be sharing like during your presentation if that's okay. Like
cool. Yeah. Just
comments. Okay.
Yeah, just jump in wherever you want, and then if you want to, if you'd like to show off anything more in depth, like if you have any screenshots or anything, we can turn over the screen share to you afterwards as well.
Okay,
awesome.
Thank you.
I'm glad somebody else got the test flight link. Yeah, so that I thought the questions worked very well. Just typography kind of thing here. This ended up looking a little kind of janky right here with the from Bitcoin Beach marketing being truncated, and that's always a complicated thing. And I mean, when you have like a word that doesn't have, it's really 3 words, but it's like a username, so it's long, so it kind of wants to like break apart like that. But just some better type handling, I think, would be nice there. But functionally, it works. I think I went through, this is probably excessive. I was just excited and screenshotting like crazy. But, you get incrementally more amounts of Bitcoin. I got like 5 sats there for this one. And I thought that all worked very well. Again, kind of that noticeable delay there between being told that I've got my money. I did kind of notice that now I was using this on an iPhone XS. I'm not sure what devices people are usually using them on in Alzante. I imagine Android's probably fairly popular there, but I was having some kind of issues with like text being like kind of spilling off the screen. And I think I had some issues too when I was going through this one where I couldn't actually scroll down. Like I could see all the questions there, but once I answered this one incorrectly, it kind of pushed a lot of the text off screen, and I wasn't able to actually scroll and go see that. So that was one problem I encountered. But I basically went through the whole like first like batch of questions, the Bitcoin, what is it? and I got this, kind of fun little screen here, and then, this is all finished, and it kind of unlocks this area here. So it kind of goes like, it gets you like kind of deeper and deeper into learning about Bitcoin, but there's like an incentive about it, which I thought was kind of cool. So this was my screen after I finished that whole one there, with, and I have 1 cent, 18 sats. I did notice one kind of thing. I think when I was midway through earning the questions the first time, I saw the transactions appear that showed that I had money coming in, but so my balance was being updated in the transactions, but it wasn't being updated up here. So again, that's more of an engineering thing than a design thing. I guess something wasn't getting updated there. But then later on, once I did actually complete the first batch of quiz questions, the balance did correctly update there. And then I went through kind of a send receive flow here. So let's see, I believe I scanned an invoice. So I tapped send, and I typed in that I wanted to send 6 sats, tapped the camera icon, gave Bitcoin Beach access to my camera, all of that, scanned a Lightning invoice, and I think it went back to 0 once I scanned it. It was basically a 0 amount invoice. And then I typed in 6 again manually. And do you want to confirm this payment? Payments are final. So I confirmed it. Payment went through very quickly. If I remember correctly, I think this was another Bitcoin Beach wallet. So I think this would have been like an intra-ledger transaction. So I guess no actual Bitcoin or Lightning payment would have been made during this transaction. It would have just been handled on the Bitcoin Beach internal ledger. But then my balance updates and all of that, and the default of the app is to use sats in the transaction history. So it's which I thought was interesting. I'm not saying it's bad. I just thought it was interesting. Because obviously prices are still going to be denominated in USD in El Salvador. So I wasn't sure if that was like a conscious design decision to like make people think more in sats or what. But there is a way, if you prefer it to be in USD, you can kind of go into the settings menu and change that if you prefer. But I mean, I'm fine with it being in sats. I tapped on the transaction. So this kind of transaction window lets you kind of scroll through, and it gives you like kind of like a snapshot of your transactions, but you can tap it to view your whole transaction history. And this is what it looks like when I send a transaction versus when I received a transaction. You got a lot of technical information. I wasn't sure what on US meant. That's one thing I was confused about. I wasn't sure on us. I wasn't sure if that meant that it was an interledger transaction or not. You know what? I'm gonna verify right here on the call by opening up my Bitcoin Beach wallet. I'm gonna try and like learn myself. So if I sent like a Lightning, I'm not trying to see if I sent any transactions to somebody from like another. Yeah, so I noticed if I sent myself Bitcoin from my Zeus wallet, that type on us is not there. It's type Lightning. So I'm guessing that on _us refers to it being like an interledger transaction. I'm guessing somebody. There's a lot of activity going on in the chat there. Yeah, so Nicholas is confirming, yes, it's intraledger. On us is the term used in the credit card industry, but we're moving to intraledger in future update. Got it. Yeah, I wasn't quite familiar with that, but I guess I was able to figure it out eventually. So that was a basic kind of send receive flow, and I thought it worked very quickly. And I like that a lot of the technical ID hashes and all that kind of stuff is kind of hidden away from the user. You kind of have to drill down deeper to see it. I think Nicholas alluded to this when he was kind of describing the company, but it sounds like Gloy received a lot of feedback, at least from people in who visited El Zonte as part of the Adopting Bitcoin conference. And I'll shed a little bit of light on this. I mean, this was, so there was a lot of really good things and then some, more friction inducing things about this. So basically the idea is there's these kind of signs. There's to give a little context, after the Adopting Bitcoin conference, there was kind of a festival in El Zonte, and, people were setting up food carts and, merchandise stands and all that. And, a lot of people would have these kind of signs up outside their booths, and there was these 2 different QR codes. And the idea was, I think, to not distract the merchants. Like, the merchant is busy, you've got someone who's like cooking meals for 5 people, and you don't want them to have to like stop and like fiddle with a Bitcoin wallet while they're doing their cooking. And so the basic idea is to make it easy by just having these kind of pre-built QR codes. And so if you're a local resident of El Zonte and you already have the Bitcoin Beach wallet, you scan this QR code, and it's a very seamless process because the QR code in there is kind of, I guess, like proprietary to the Bitcoin Beach wallet, and it instantly recognizes it as a interledger transaction. If you have a non-custodial Lightning wallet, you'd scan this, and really all this QR code does is it just takes you to a website, and the website is going to take you to, it's something like this, ellen.bitcoinbeach.com/Jerry. So it goes to this particular restaurant here, and it just kind of generates a Lightning invoice for you, an amountless invoice, but it generates an invoice. And I could scan this right now with my phone and pay that invoice. The kind of tricky thing that we ran into is that it just, depending on if you are Android, if you were on iOS, if you were on whatever platform, it just kind of, the results kind of varied. So it's tricky for me because I had Bitcoin Beach on test flight, and it kept wanting to open up in my Bitcoin Beach wallet, but I didn't have any money in my Bitcoin Beach wallet. I had 18 sats, so I couldn't really pay for a pupusa with that. Other people had experiences where the Lightning wallet just wouldn't recognize it, and then they figured out that they had to go scan it with their camera QR code and tap to copy the invoice and then paste that manually. So there was a lot of friction to that experience for someone visiting El Salvador with a non-custodial Lightning wallet. Now, having said that, on the merchant side of that user experience, it was probably actually very, very good, because they are able to, juggle multiple customers at once and not have to worry about spinning up Lightning invoices all the time, and all of that. So it just, it kind of depends on which side of the experience you're looking at it. But I think it's a good idea of trying to reduce the burden on the merchant. And look forward to see, what ideas you come up with to make that, more compatible with the non-custodial Lightning wallet side. So I've been kind of rambling on for a little bit here, but I just wanted to see, maybe it'd be a good chance to turn it over to Lucas and then to Johns.
A quick question here.
Yeah.
So you said you scanned a QR code and it took you to a website with another QR code?
Yeah. So the idea is that this QR code right here is essentially, all it is just a URL. Like, if you were to go to a restaurant and they would be like, hey, our menu is digital now because of COVID. So the QR code would just be a URL. So the URL is basically this. And anybody on Bitcoin Beach wallet has like a little username. And so you can, I can type in my username instead of Jerry and get to my little, microsite. So it just takes you to this website, and then the website itself actually generates the Lightning invoice.
And this is the one that will be just LN URL in the future.
I imagine that LN URL or something like that would fix it. Yeah, if it were just some kind of like LN, with so many wallets, being LN URL compatible, if this was some kind of LN URL barcode, that could solve that problem. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
I don't think just the LN URL by itself would resolve the problem. I mean, there would have to be some kind of detection on that page that you land on, or something. I don't know if that's possible though.
Yeah, I gotcha. So yeah, it's like probably not, I don't know if it's like an easy engineering problem to solve.
Oh.
I like the design. I like the design aspect of just like making it as simple as possible on the merchant, and you know, and maybe there's other ways to do that aside from a sign. But I like the overall intention of it, but I think it needs work. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and let's see if anybody else has any further questions on what I'm showing off. I'm happy to present them, but otherwise I'm going to turn it over to Lucas here.
No,
just one.
You can go to John's. Actually, I don't have like notes or anything. It's my first meeting.
Cool.
I have some comments. The only thing annoyed me a little bit was if I generate an invoice in the Bitcoin Beach wallet, and then I try to, like, I go off the app and go back to the app, like it gives me the, like, you, let me check here. You have sorry. Like, it doesn't recognize that the invoice was generated in the same app, so it asks if I want to pay the invoice. And also, if I already paid that invoice from another wallet, in Bitcoin Beach wallet, they actually ask me again over and over. If it's still in my control, like my copy paste, it will over and over ask me if I want to. I can send screenshots if you want. What was it?
No, that makes sense. So and if you need to send them in later too, that's cool. We'll consolidate notes and send this over to the Bitcoin Beach folks. But if you have them on hand, then great.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're trying to describe a scenario where there's like a little bit of a lag between your wallet showing the payment confirmed and the Bitcoin Beach wallet showing the payments confirmed.
No, it's, when you like go off an app and then you go back. Sorry, I don't know exactly the term, like, but when you go to an app and then you ask, like, I see that you have a Lightning invoice in your copy board. Do you want to pay it? But they send me that note, even if the invoice was generated by the app itself. Like, I don't want to pay an invoice that I've generated in that same app.
Interesting. Is this like an invoice you're generating to try and receive? Or
yeah, I generated the invoice and then copied it, and then like go off the app and get back to the app, and it asks me if I want to pay the invoice, but I don't want to pay the invoice from Bitcoin Beach to Bitcoin Beach from the same wallet.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's a problem that I've actually had, and that's not even Bitcoin Beach specific. It's like I noticed this with virtually every Lightning wallet I've ever used on iOS. They're very hungry about like scanning the clipboard constantly for Lightning invoices, and I feel like half of my experience using any Lightning wallet is just like constantly flicking away the like, oh, Breeze, Blixt, whatever, pasted something from the clipboard.
Yeah, I tested it with Breeze to see if that happens the same way, but no, they recognize that the invoice was generated in Breeze, so they don't ask me if I want to pay it. And also, the same thing happens when I try to pay, like when I have in my copy board some invoice that I already paid with Bitcoin Beach wallet. So like, let's say I go to my Breeze, generate an invoice, go to my Bitcoin Beach wallet, I pay the invoice, then I go off the app, get back to the app, it asks me again if I want to pay the same invoice that I already paid in the same wallet.
I see. And so you're kind of proposing that there be some kind of better handling for that to make sure that, the app can detect, like if it sees an invoice that's already in the transaction history, it should know not to paste that.
Yeah, or if it was generated in the same app.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I wonder if that's a security risk.
Yeah, actually, just if I can dive into this, that's not an easy point to solve, because it's an easy point to solve for non-custodial, right? Because okay, the invoice has been generated by my node, and therefore, of course, I cannot pay this. But the reason it's a bit more complex for custodial wallet is that basically you may want to pay an invoice from the same node, right? Of course, in that case, it's an intra-ledger transaction. It's not a Lightning transaction. But if me, Nicola, I sent you a Lightning invoice to you, Lucas, and we're both using the Bitcoin Beach wallet, you want to be able to pay it, right? And so I know there is things we can do to improve the experience on this, but it's actually a non-trivial problem to solve.
Okay, got it. And one thing that I really thought was super cool was in the map, I can like select one of the stores that are in the map and tip some of the stores there. It's super cool.
Yeah, that was one feature I just completely forgot to show off. I guess I didn't dip into that feature until later. But yeah, that was a really cool one. It reinforces the idea of Bitcoin as a circular economy. If you can just pull up your phone and see who around you will accept your Bitcoin as money.
I had a question around onboarding. So it seems like both the onboarding and the earn tab, they really focus on Bitcoin itself. And sometimes onboarding is also helpful to explain, key features of this application. For example, if a website for my account is automatically generated, that's something the app could tell me right away, and why that is a helpful thing. I was wondering if there were specific considerations around not doing that.
Time.
Okay.
No, we should, but yeah.
It might be a thing where you observe users, you figure out what problems they have, what they don't understand about the app, and then you make sure you put it on the onboarding, you put it in the first experience or somewhere else, or even before they even get in the app, you put it on the store listing or on the website or somewhere else. And maybe all of this is already covered on the website or on the app store, and when people come into the app, they already know everything. I was just curious.
No, I think that's a great input. We should improve this for sure.
Hey, Lucas, did you have any more points you wanted to share?
No, that's it. Thank you.
I wanted to see if anybody else kind of in the room here had any questions on what the points that me and Lucas have been raising before I turn it over to John's.
Yeah, you can take your time also, because I'm I'm having some computer problems.
All right, that's cool.
I have one question. Sorry, go ahead.
No. The only other thing that I already mentioned to Nicholas yesterday, but maybe it's good to have it in this notes. It's in the receipt, like in the transaction history. You don't have the pre-image. So I noticed a lot of people in the festival, they received a lot of payments from the line, and then when they would check if you really paid to give you the food, they was like trying to compare like hash or node ID or something like that, but they needed actually to compare pre-image to see if that like the payment matched the payment that transaction history that I had in my own wallet. So the only thing they need to do not there is add the pre-image into the transaction history receipts.
Well, to take that a step further, this might be, I don't know, the engineers might cringe when they hear this, but like I'm almost wondering if there's like an easier way to be able to verify the transaction for where someone doesn't even have to look at a pre-image. Like, I don't know if there's a way that you could hash that into an even tinier number or something, or like just convert that into like the smallest number, like 6-digit number or something, so that like it's just like, because like one idea, you've probably heard, some people have already heard me rant about this, but the offline LNURL POS that Ben Ark was demoing at Adopting Bitcoin had this kind of thing, and it's completely different flow because it's an offline POS, but it had this really interesting design feature where the person creating the invoice offline, their device generates like a 4-digit PIN, and once your Lightning wallet pays it, the PIN like is kind of like sent as like a callback to your Lightning wallet. So verifying that the payment successfully completed was as simple as just like with an offline POS was just as simple as like verify that these 4-digit numbers matched or something like that. So I don't know, but I'd be curious if there's a way to just make it so that the payment verification can happen without anybody needing to verify any pre-images or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it was in Breeze or Blixt or somewhere else. We also had this discussion, and a simple solution would be just not call it pre-image, but call it payment proof ID, or I don't know, something people understand.
Oh, totally. I mean, nothing. That would be a simple solution to the problem and all that. But I guess what the topic I'm raising here is broader than just Bitcoin Beach. It's just Lightning in general. It's like, it's kind of like when we talk about Bitcoin addresses and like on-chain addresses, and just they're so unwieldy. And you're like, trying to look at it, like verifying every single number and all that, and it's just like, is there a simpler way to verify this? Yeah.
Identicons are probably the way to do that. You just turn it into some visual pattern or texture, and then anybody can. I mean, maybe it's not perfect, but it's a very, very quick split-second check that then uses some of our other senses.
Yeah, exactly.
Typically, unless there is many people paying at the same time, it's not a problem, because if you have the Bitcoin Beach wallet, you receive a notification that even if your app is closed, you receive a notification saying, okay, you receive a payment for this amount, and there is $1 on the start amount. So like if you're going to a restaurant and you're the only one paying at this time, there's no issue. I guess the issue was probably present during the day in Esonte where all the Bitcoin was there, and because there was a lot of payment being done at the same time, and then I receive 5 payments, who is who, but it's a scenario that I guess is not frequent, also, because otherwise, to know you receive a payment, you get this notification, right, and you get the amount, so you get this instant way of, okay, I receive this amount of money, and I don't even need to open the app to open the wallet to know that I received the money.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, if you have a solo 2 people making a payment together, it's pretty obvious when you've been paid. The problem only presents itself, if you're one merchant trying to juggle 5 customers at once. So yeah, it depends on the situation.
Hey guys, okay, I got Figma open, so I think this is the, I'm gonna have to, I can't share my screen on the computer, so I'm gonna have to, yeah, sorry. So yeah, I'm in, Zonta here, and it's quite hot, so my computer is actually like really dying, it's really struggling here. So, okay, from my phone, I'm going to be showing you some of the things. It's just 2 concepts, mainly to do with context, and one to do with that hiding balances. So can you see me or the screen?
I can see you, but not the screen yet.
How do you?
Okay. Can you see my screen? I'm sorry.
Now we can.
Is the quality okay?
It'll get the job done.
All right. So sorry about this. Yeah. All right. So we have on the on the main homepage, we have the balance being shown on the top, and we have this pattern in the Bitcoin design guide which talks about like hiding sensitive information. But the thing is, to get to this screen, to get to this, sorry, to hide this, to hide the balance up here, you need to go to settings, and then you need to kind of switch it on, and then you'll be able to tap it to reveal it, and then untap, right? And I think this is quite important, in this kind of like payment scenario, especially when we have Bitcoin being, be your own bank and all that. So if you have your entire life savings in a mobile wallet or whatever, let's assume not everyone's able to get a hardware wallet to have custody, to separate custody and stuff, and they have like their month's salary in here. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing for someone's behind you in a cafe or a pupusa stand to be able to see like, hey, this is all the money that you got through remittances or whatever else. But having it all the way in the settings, it's kind of yeah, it's kind of hidden away. Most applications, what they do is like either showing like an icon on the next to the balance, or being able to like just tap on the balance to hide it. What I really like about how the balance is shown here, though, it has the fiat amount and the satoshi amount. So some of them you have to like circle through, like I want to see the Bitcoin amount, the satoshi amount, and then it goes to the fiat amount, and then you go to hide. I really like it's just right there, so you could just have one tap to hide and reveal. The other problem with this that I saw with the hiding sensitive information is that it didn't actually hide all the sensitive information. The transactions were still so the balance was hidden, but the transactions weren't. Right, the transaction details weren't. So if you got your like if you just got an incoming transaction of your salary, $500 or whatever, even though the balance is not really shown, you could still determine how much that person has in their wallet. So yeah, alternatively, it's the balance that gets hidden, as well as the transaction details. I don't know if you can see this here. Yeah. The other one that I had, as you guys, some of you might know, I've been into contacts research for quite a bunch of times, quite a time. And Bitcoin Beach and Galoy, they're using, it's a hosted wallet, right? So it's running on a web server, so it's possible to have things like LNURL Pay and even Lightning address for every user. Because it's just like some API endpoints. So currently, I think the user system in Bitcoin Beach is kind of like internal, like it's an internal kind of like list of like it's an internal registry of users. What I'm proposing here is to replace that with Lightning address instead. You could still have like other information on the contact, right? That's stored on the phone or on the server, but the identifier that gets resolved is a Lightning address. Now, okay, well, having to type in because okay, so if this is a community wallet, having everyone to type in the domain every time, it's kind of it's going to be like a bit of work. So what you can do instead is you still keep the Bitcoin Beach users as a like first class citizen. So for instance, if you have in your contacts a set of usernames, they would kind of like default here. I don't know if you can see this. Like it will default to at like Bitcoin Beach. So any kind of input or anything, it'll default to at Bitcoin Beach. But then you're able to add these other, right? So you see this other category here, other users, and it could be like my username at Cash App or BTC Paste Jungle or whatever. So this way it's like you still and for those others, it shows the full domain and username for Lightning address. But for the Bitcoin Beach ones, it just kind of like blends it out a little bit, so you're just focusing on the username more. And for the contact detail now, you're able to so yeah, here we have Karen 503, etc. Hopefully I'm not doxing somebody. Probably I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so so alternatively, we could say that Karen is a Bitcoin Beach user, and on Karen's profile, this is the Lightning address, which you could kind of copy and then send to anyone. And even if it's a Bitcoin, so then it doesn't matter if you're sending it to someone. Like you don't need to assume what wallet the person has. Karen, like if you just have Karen 503, then you're gonna be like, what wallet is this? And I've seen a lot of wallets trying to do these username kind of things, and it's all like this internal registry. But I think for interoperability, it's like super important for us to kind of try to use some stuff, at least whatever we have now, to be as much interoperable as possible, even if whether you like it or not, whether you like the like the @ symbol, or it should be a dollar symbol or some other thing. It's the best thing that we have now for interoperability. So I think we should just kind of like extend those things out. Yeah. That's it pretty much.
So Nicholas was mentioning in the chat that there was a bounty to integrate LN URL and Lightning address into Bitcoin Beach Wallet. Posted a link to an issue.
Yeah, I saw that there was some LN URL stuff. I didn't know the Lightning address one was in there as well. Is that going to be for, like, is it going to be for the contacts as well?
So on the backend, the LN URL and Lightning address has been integrated already, but we need to do it in the mobile app now. So when this is it also on the mobile app, like, we will be releasing it.
Yeah, I think those QR codes could also be those such addresses as well. Like at least the ones that you have here, Lightning addresses. And yeah, I don't know. I have to think through the problem of the QR codes one. So,
John, do you have a question
from Juan? Yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say you had a question in the chat from Juan. John, when you mention hide TX info too, do you mean description and amount or only amount?
yeah, I mean description and amount, because I mean, like, if someone sees me shopping at like the Gucci store or something in my transaction history, then they could also determine like you know, like how much money that I am possibly dealing with as well.
Yeah, and this is, I totally agree with you, and I'm so glad you brought that up. I completely forgot to mention that in mine because my Figma comments disappeared. But I mean, and this is not just a thing with Bitcoin Beach Wallet, but again, with many Lightning wallets, I'm just starting to rethink assumptions around what is a good default like landing screen for Lightning wallets, because you know, I think there's something that feels intuitive about the idea of like, okay, I open it up and it shows me how much money I have. But when we think about it, like if we're really going to be like, you don't want people seeing what's in your wallet or what's in your bank account. And the Bitcoin wallet is kind of somewhere in between a physical wallet and a bank account. Like it's somewhere in between that. And I mean, I wonder, as you know, designers and developers of Bitcoin products, if we should start thinking more about just maybe it's a different landing screen when you first get on the app. I mean, maybe it's just a big send or receive or scan or something like that. You know, maybe it's kind of like, you know, maybe it's like there's like a check balance button. Maybe it's send, receive, check balance. And, you know, that way your balance is very easily accessible, but it's this thing that you kind of have to like explicitly see. I don't know. Then that might be a weird, crazy idea, but I'm just trying to think about getting away from the default of, you know, balances right there on home screen.
Yeah, that's what Cash App also does. They launch you straight into a number input screen, and then you say, okay, I want to pay this or I want to request this. And it's kind of similar what Snapchat does. They show you straight into an action, an activity, not something static, some type of feed for you to look at. But I think you know, these types of wallets, they're meant to do something on the go, right? To pay or request. So you know, I think there's a good rationale to go down that route.
I think that is one function of paying on the go, but as I mentioned before, it's like, you know, be your own bank. It's kind of like some people probably, I don't know if that happens here, but I could imagine that people are who are getting paid in Bitcoin quite frequently in some place like El Zonte. Maybe most of their wealth is in a mobile app. But yes, separating them out would be quite important based on those actions of like, is it am I trying to like manage my savings or wealth or money, or do I want to make like, do I want to go into daily spending mode or something?
I mean, it could also be a reverse thing where if they feel if they feel more confident with the application, if they trust it more, that then they're willing to put more money in there also.
Right, because on the day-to-day sort of traditional financial system, you're not opening your bank account app to make the payment, right? You're reaching for, or many people are reaching for a credit card, or they scanning a Apple Pay type of wallet or something like this, and so you're actually not. It's like a new experience, which is opening your and seeing your balance when you're making those small payments. It's interesting.
So we are getting pretty close to the hour here. So I think I'm going to, we can all talk for as long as we want to in this Jitsi channel, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up and kill the recording. So before we do any of that, does anybody have any final comments that they want to say before we start to wrap things up?
What we've done with other calls was we had a first call that was just about the general experience, which was helpful. And then we had a second call where we did a deep dive into very specific features. And that, that's sometimes more helpful to a team who works on this product all day long, right? They already kind of know certain things, and maybe they have requests that certain areas that they'd like to get more feedback on. So I'm just curious, was this helpful today? Do you already know everything? Is it helpful to do a second call based on specific features or so? Just curious what type of follow-up everybody would like to do, if any. It's okay too.
I'll just jump here, and I need to. I have another call starting now, so I need to go in a minute. For me, most of the thing I know, this is some issue, the constraint is a lot on the engineering side to fix all those bugs. That says it's a good reminder to get the feedback of someone using the app for the first time, because at some point you start by there is an issue, but then you get used to it, and then you forget about it, and then you don't fix it, right? So getting a reminder that this needs more attention, I guess, is always helpful. That said, also I'm the person who started the wallet, but we have more people on the team that may not have the context, and I'm sure for many people on the call today, they might have heard this type of issue for the first time, especially the ones that may not have been in Horizonte yet. So this is, I'm sure, helpful for the team in general. And I think doing another call maybe in January, would be helpful. I'm sure, to dive more into some specific feature. That would be great indeed.
Which areas would you want to go into?
I think the education could be, and maybe it's on the content, I think it could be improved, we could have more questions. I think we just have made this proof of concept more than a year ago, but there is a lot of people that are going through this education program. So this could get more attention. I'm sure the Lightning address, URL, diving more into this as we start integrating it, I think would be useful, because it might be something that will help gain, if we get the email, equivalent for money, when you can easily send to someone, this is huge, and I think getting some attention to this would be useful. John, you already mentioned about it, right? We already have a ticket for this now. We just need to, to execute on the engineering side. But after we have some proof of concept, maybe this would be also a good thing to focus in on. Well, guys, I need to go. I have another call.
Great.
Thank you for the feedback. It was very helpful.
Yeah, thanks to all the people from the Gloy team who came up and showed to listen to us, provide feedback. I know sometimes it can be difficult listening to a whole bunch of people kind of picking apart what you've been working on. So appreciate that a lot that you joined us, and we'll go ahead and wrap things up here, and we'll talk via another channel about next steps. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. See you.
Thanks.